All cue sports are generally regarded to have evolved into indoor games from outdoor stick and ball lawn games, specifically those retroactively termed ground billiards, and as such to be related to the historical games jeu de maille and pall-mall, and modern truco, croquet, and golf, and more distantly to the stickless bocce and bowls. The word billiard may have evolved from the French word billard or billet, meaning stick, in reference to the mace, an implement similar to a golf putter, and which was the forerunner to the modern cue. However, the term's origin could have been from French bille, meaning ball. The modern term cue sports can be used to encompass the ancestral mace games, and even the modern quilles variants, such as finger billiards, for historical reasons. Cue itself came from cue, the French word for tail. This refers to the early practice of using the tail or butt of the mace, instead of its club foot, to strike the ball when it lay against a rail cushion. A recognizable form of billiards was played outdoors in the 1340s, and was reminiscent of croquet. King Louis XI of France, 1461-1483, had the first known indoor billiard table. Louis XIV further refined and popularized the game, and it swiftly spread among the French nobility. While the game had long been played on the ground, this version appears to have died out, aside from truco, in the 17th century, in favor of croquet, golf and bowling games, even as table billiards had grown in popularity as an indoor activity. The imprisoned Mary, Queen of Scots, complained when her table de billard was taken away, by those who eventually became her executioners, who were to cover her body with the table's cloth. Billiards grew to the extent that by 1727, it was being played in almost every Paris café. In England, the game was developing into a very popular activity for members of the gentry. By 1670, the thin butt end of the mace began to be used not only for shots under the cushion, which itself was originally only there as a preventative method to stop balls from rolling off, but players increasingly preferred it for other shots as well. The footless, straight cue as it is known today was finally developed by about 1800. Initially, the mace was used to push the balls, rather than strike them. The newly developed striking cue provided a new challenge. Cushions began to be stuffed with substances to allow the balls to rebound, in order to enhance the appeal of the game. After a transitional period where only the better players would use cues, the cue came to be the first choice of equipment. The demand for tables and other equipment was initially met in Europe by John Thurston and other furniture makers of the era. The early balls were made from wood and clay, but the rich preferred to use ivory. Early billiard games involved various pieces of additional equipment, including the arch, related to the croquet hoop, port, a different hoop, often rectangular, and king, a pin or skittle near the arch, in the early 17th to late 18th century, but other game variants, relying on the cushions, and pockets cut into them, were being formed that would go on to play fundamental roles in the development of modern billiards. The early croquet-like games eventually led to the development of the carom billiards category. These games are games played with 3 or sometimes 4 balls, on a table without holes, in which the goal is generally to strike one object ball with a cue ball, then have the cue ball rebound off of one or more of the cushions and strike a second object ball. Variations include straight rail, ball climb, 1 cushion, 3 cushion, 5 pins, and 4 ball, among others. One type of obstacle remained a feature of many tables. Originally as a hazard and later as a target, in the form of pockets, or holes partly cut into the table bed and partly into the cushions, leading to the rise of pocket billiards, including pool, games such as 8-ball, 9-ball, straight pool, and 1 pocket, Russian pyramid, snooker, English billiards, and others. In the United States, pool and billiards had died out for a bit, but between 1878 and 1956 the games became very popular. Players in annual championships began to receive their own cigarette cards. This was mainly due to the fact that it was a popular pastime for troops to take their minds off from battle. However, by the end of World War II, pool and billiards began to die down once again. It was not until 1961 when the film The Hustler came out that sparked a new interest in the game. Now the game is generally a well-known game and has many players of all different skill levels. Cue sports are a wide variety of games of skill played with a cue, which is used to strike billiard balls and thereby cause them to move around a cloth-covered table bounded by elastic bumpers known as cushions. Billiards has a long history from its inception in the 15th century, with many mentions in the works of Shakespeare, including the line, "Let's to billiards," in Antony and Cleopatra, 1606-07, and enthusiasts of the sport include Mozart, Louis XIV of France, Marie Antoinette, Immanuel Kant, Napoleon, Abraham Lincoln, Mark Twain, George Washington, French President Jules Gravy, Charles Dickens, George Armstrong Custer, Theodore Roosevelt, Lewis Carroll, W. C. Fields, Babe Ruth, Bob Hope, and Jackie Gleason. The games with regulated international professional competition, if not others, have been referred to as sports or sporting events, not simply games, since 1893 at the latest. Quite a variety of particular games, i.e., sets of rules and equipment, are the subject of present-day competition, including many of those already mentioned, with competition being especially broad in 9-ball, snooker, 3-cushion, and 8-ball. Snooker, though a pocket billiards variant and closely related in its equipment and origin to the game of English billiards, is a professional sport organized at an international level, and its rules bear little resemblance to those of modern pool, pyramid, and other such games. Billiards, category encompassing pool, snooker, and carom, has been part of the World Games since 2001.